All right, get ready to journey back in time with us because today we're diving deep into the original Legend of Zelda.
Back to 1986.
Yeah, the year it debuted on the NES.
Wow, the NES.
I know, right? Talk about a classic.
A true gaming landmark. And, even if you've only played a little later games in the series, you can really feel this game's DNA and everything that time moved through it.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to uncover today, right? What made this 8-bit adventure so groundbreaking?
And why it still resonates with players, decades later.
Decades later, it's crazy.
It is pretty wild when you think about it. I mean, how did this game, with its, pixelated simplicity, manage to create such a compelling sense of adventure?
Right. And think about this. They just kind of drop you into this massive world, Hyrule, with almost no guidance.
Oh, yeah.
No quest markers, no blowing trails, nothing.
Nope.
Just you, a sword.
And a mysterious old man saying it's dangerous to go alone.
Exactly. And that right there, that lack of hand-holding,
Yeah.
that was revolutionary.
It really was. Most games at the time were so linear, you just went from Quan A to Black B. Zelda just threw out the rulebook.
Threw it out.
Yeah, threw it out and said, go explore.
And we did.
You did.
I mean, over 600 fiends, forests, mountains, lakes, even that creepy graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like a real world full of secrets just waiting to be discovered.
And you had to rely on your own intuition, your own wits to find them. That's what I love about it.
You too.
It fostered this real sense of community among players, because everyone was sharing maps, tips, rumors about hidden dungeons.
It's funny to think about now in the age of online walkthroughs and everything at your fingertips,
I know.
How much of that original Zelda experience was about sharing discoveries?
Yeah, at school, around the neighborhood.
With your friends, totally.
It created this shared sense of adventure that's, I think, much rarer in modern gaming.
I agree, yeah.
Kind of sad.
So we've established Hyrule was massive and mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
What about Link? How did he go from ordinary kid to, legendary hero?
Well, it wasn't about leveling up
Right.
or gaining experience points or anything like that.
It wasn't like those RPGs, no?
No, it was about finding new tools and learning how to use them creatively.
Starting with that iconic sword.
Of course, you got to have the sword,
But then you had
bombs.
bombs for blasting open hidden passages.
Boomerangs for stunning enemies.
A magical recorder for warping around the world.
Each new item felt like a revelation, It wasn't just about getting stronger. It was about, expanding your possibilities, understanding the world in new ways.
Totally. And you needed that ingenuity to tackle those infamous dungeons, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Those were something else.
Each dungeon was like this meticulously designed puzzle box, full of traps, enemies, and a boss monster guarding a piece of the Triforce of wisdom.
It wasn't just about combat either, right? You had to use the environment to your advantage.
Oh, for sure.
You had to solve those cryptic puzzles, and often you had to use a very specific item that you had found in that very dungeon.
To progress.
It was brilliant.
It really was.
Each dungeon felt like its own, self-contained adventure with a unique theme and a unique atmosphere.
Yeah. You had the Lost Woods with that eerie music, the fire-filled Death Mountain.
And don't even get me started on the Water Temple.
Oh, the Water Temple.
Talk about a test of patience.
I know, right? A classic example of Zelda's ability to combine clever level design with strategic use of items.
Speaking of tests, we can't forget about the boss battles either.
Oh, man, the boss tests.
Each one you really had to learn their attack patterns, exploit their weaknesses, and then use your items creatively.
To emerge victorious?
It was epic.
They were epic confrontations. They really put your skills to the test.
And when you finally collect all 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom,
yes,
you get to face Ganon himself.
In his lair.
In his lair on Death Mountain.
A fitting climax to an epic adventure.
But here's the thing. What many players didn't realize at the time was that even after defeating Ganon, the adventure wasn't actually over.
Wait, are you talking about the second quest?
Yeah, that hidden, more challenging version of the game.
Oh man, the second quest.
That's right.
It was such a brilliant way to extend the game's life.
And reward those players who love to explore.
And experiment.
But how to access it, that was a secret hidden in plain sight.
So how did you unlock this mysterious second quest?
Well, all you had to do was start a new game and enter a very specific name.
What name?
Zelda.
No way! Just Zelda.
Yeah.
So the game was hiding an entirely harder adventure behind a secret name code.
I know, it's amazing, right?
That's incredible.
It's like the developers were encouraging players to share secrets.
And discoveries with each other.
Exactly. It almost feels like a precursor.
To cheat codes.
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
All that stuff that became so prevalent in later games.
That's so cool.
This game was truly ahead of its time. We've covered so much ground already. From exploring Hyrule, conquering dungeons, even uncovering secret quests.
But there's still so much more to discuss.
There is. So much more to dive into. But for now, let's take a quick breather, and we'll be right back with part 2 of this epic journey.
Into the heart of the Legend of Zelda.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Legend of Zelda.
We were just talking about that secret Zelda code to unlock the second quest.
I know, right?
Really makes you appreciate how much thought went into every aspect of the game.
Even something as simple as a name entry screen.
Yeah, it speaks to a philosophy of design that was all about encouraging exploration.
It's discovery.
Rewarding players for their curiosity.
Exactly.
But before we get lost in any more secret dungeons, I'm curious to hear more about the game's legacy.
Okay.
It obviously spawned a massive franchise.
It did.
But how else did it shape the gaming world?
Well, the impact of The Legend of Zelda is truly immense.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about sequels.
Right.
It was about pioneering a whole new approach to game design.
And you mentioned earlier how groundbreaking the non-linear exploration was.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So think about it. Before Zelda, most games were like walking down a hallway. You just went from one predetermined point to the next with very little freedom to deviate.
Kind of like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. Super Mario Brothers, which came out around the same time.
Yeah.
Classic game, but it's a very linear experience.
Right.
Zelda, on the other hand, presented you with a world full of possibilities and said, figure it out.
It really did.
You know?
And that sense of freedom and discovery,
Yeah.
unlike anything players had experienced before,
Right.
it was like stepping into a living, breathing world.
Not just a series of levels.
Exactly. And that philosophy has had a profound influence on game design ever since.
Right, I think so.
Like, think about all the open world games we have today.
Oh, yeah.
From Skyrim to Breath of the Wild itself.
All of them.
They all owe a debt to the original Legend of Zelda.
Huge debt.
Wow, so Zelda didn't just create a genre, it essentially invented an entire way of thinking about games.
I think that's fair to say.
That's amazing. But what about some of the more technical innovations?
Ooh, yeah.
Were there any that came out of this?
Well, there's this one seemingly small detail that actually had a huge impact.
Okay.
The introduction of battery backup saves.
Oh yeah, this was the first home console game to let you save your progress, right?
Exactly.
Before that, you were stuck with those clunky password systems.
Oh, I hated those.
Oh, I know.
Long strings of characters you had to write down if you wanted to pick up where you left off.
Awful.
So annoying.
Can't even imagine.
It was a pain, trust me. Zelda's battery backup system was a revelation.
Really was.
Made the game so much more accessible.
Yeah.
Allowed for longer, more complex adventures.
It seems crazy to think that such a, basic feature was once revolutionary.
I know, right?
It's just taken for granted in gaming now.
It is.
And speaking of revolution, we can't forget how The Legend of Zelda helped solidify the action-adventure genre itself.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because before Zelda, there wasn't really a clear-cut definition of what an action-adventure game was.
Right. There were games with action elements and games with adventure elements, but Zelda kind of combined them in this masterful way.
Yeah.
It became the blueprint for countless games to come.
So not only did it push boundaries in terms of exploration and technology, but it also helped to define an entire genre of gaming.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It really is.
And we haven't even touched on the music yet.
Oh, the music.
Oh, the music. Burned into my memory.
Mine too.
From that heroic overworld theme to those eerie dungeon melodies.
It really sets the mood.
It's impossible to think about Zelda without hearing those iconic tunes.
Koji Kondo, man.
Yeah.
Genius.
He created music that was both catchy and atmospheric.
Perfectly capturing the sense of wonder and adventure that permeated the game.
More than just background music.
So much more.
It's an integral part of the experience.
It guides the player.
Sets the mood.
Builds tension.
Yeah. Think about that moment when you enter a dungeon. The music instantly shifts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're in for a challenge.
You know, it's seriously
And those melodies.
instantly recognizable.
Even decades later.
By gamers all over the world.
We've talked about so much.
We have.
The groundbreaking gameplay, the enduring legacy, the iconic music.
What else is there?
But there's one question that keeps nagging at me.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
What if we could go back in time and experience The Legend of Zelda for the very first time?
Okay.
Like, totally blind. With no prior knowledge, no walkthroughs or anything.
You're talking like back to 1986.
Yeah, like we're kids again, plucking that gold cartridge out of the box for the first time.
I mean, that sense of pure discovery, right? The thrill of figuring everything out on your own.
Exactly.
It's become so rare in modern gaming.
It really has.
There's just a certain magic to that.
For sure. But then on the other hand,
yeah.
Would it be too frustrating? You know, for somebody who's like all the hand-holding and guidance of modern games.
It's a good question. I mean, would we even be able to beat it without any help?
I don't know.
I think it would depend on the player, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
For some, that challenge would be exhilarating.
Oh, yeah.
A true test
Right.
of their patience, their problem-solving skills.
It's a real retro gaming badge of honor.
Right,
Yeah.
but for others, I think it might be just overwhelming.
Yeah, I could see that.
They might miss those quest markers.
The glowing trails.
Telling them where to go, what to do.
Especially with all the cryptic clues and hidden secrets.
Oh, yeah.
This game is full of them.
You gotta remember, The Legend of Zelda, it was designed in an era when games were meant to be challenging.
Right.
They were meant to be played over and over again. Players slowly piecing together the world through trial and error, sharing their discoveries with friends.
Yeah, it really was like a communal experience back then.
It's a lost art, in a way.
I think so.
That sense of communal discovery, today, you can just Google a solution if you get stuck.
That's true.
And while that can be helpful at times, it kind of robs you of that aha moment, you know?
For sure.
That feeling of genuine accomplishment when you finally solve a puzzle on your own.
I think there's real value in that struggle, for sure.
Absolutely.
It makes the victories that much sweeter.
Makes you appreciate it more.
So let's say we do go back in time, experience the original Zelda completely blind.
Okay.
What are some things that might surprise us or even frustrate us compared to modern games?
Well, I think the lack of hand-holding would be the biggest shock.
Yeah, probably.
Modern games are constantly guiding you.
Oh, yeah.
Telling you where to go, what to do.
But Zelda just throws you into the deep end.
It does.
No flotation devices.
You get a sword and you're told, go explore, no quest log, no objective markers.
Just a fast world full of secrets.
Which would probably lead to a lot of aimless wandering.
Haha, probably.
Even with the in-game map,
Yeah,
Hyrule can be a confusing place.
it can be.
Without any guidance, you'd be stumbling around for hours.
Oh, easily.
Probably tackling dungeons out of order.
Not how the developers intended.
Yeah, I mean, drawing a map yourself would be essential.
Oh, for sure. Just like those old school RPGs.
Absolutely crucial.
Like out the graph paper.
Colored pencils.
Carefully plotting your course through Hyrule.
It's a level of engagement you just don't see much anymore.
I know, right?
It really connects you to the game world in a way, you know?
In a tangible way, yeah.
You're not just passively following a marker on a screen.
Okay, so getting lost is a given. What else might throw modern gamers off?
The combat system.
Really?
Yeah, it might take some getting used to. It's much more deliberate and precise than many modern action games.
Because it seems pretty straightforward to me. You swing the sword, you kill the bad guys.
Well, yeah, on the surface, sure.
Okay.
But you can't just button mash your way through encounters.
Oh, interesting.
You have to time your attacks, learn enemy patterns.
Oh, okay.
And remember that Link only attacks in the direction he's facing.
So you can't just charge and swinging wildly.
Haha, no, not if you want to keep all your hearts.
Good point.
It's a game that rewards patience, observation, and a strategic approach to combat.
It's not just about reflexes then.
No, it's about understanding the nuances of the game's systems.
Interesting.
And that kind of depth, I think, is something that's often missing from modern games.
Yeah, that's true.
Where everything is designed to be so instant and accessible.
Well, I think it's safe to say that experiencing the original Legend of Zelda blind would be a fascinating and potentially frustrating journey back in time.
For sure.
It would definitely be an eye-opening experience for anyone used to the comforts of modern gaming.
It would.
But who knows, maybe that challenge is exactly what we need.
Happy.
A reminder that sometimes the greatest rewards come from overcoming the toughest obstacles.
Well said.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the origins of a true gaming legend.
It has been fun.
We've explored Hyrule's secrets, uncovered the brilliance of its design, and even contemplated the challenges of experiencing it all again, completely blind.
That was a fun thought experiment.
And along the way, I hope we've reignited the bit of that retro gaming spirit in our listeners.
I hope so too.
So to those of you listening, we encourage you to dust off that old NES cartridge or fire up an emulator.
Do it.
And take a journey back to the 8-bit world of Hyrule.
It's worth it.
Whether you go in blind or armed with a guide, The Legend of Zelda is an adventure that deserves to be experienced.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this epic deep dive.
Until next time.
May the Triforce be with you.